Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Citizen Central podcast. We are here for another episode, episode 7, in a new place. For those who don't know, we are now hosting this on the launch sequence, we're now hosting this on Space Tomato 2, right next to the Launch Sequence podcast, which is my weekly show. Now, this is the monthly podcast, and here we bring in some other YouTube content creators, people who are looking at the development of Star Citizen, and talk about the big topics like Squadron 42, the controversy of ship sales, the state of the game in general. We've had a lot of people on, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave that playlist link down below. But for today, we've got a weird one. So, as someone who's been covering this game a lot for a while, I'm a bit numb to how things go throughout the year now with delays and features and all that kind of stuff. And things have changed a lot. So I wanted to bring these folks on, these dashing YouTube content creators, to talk a little bit about what it's been like since they've started in the last year or so. And, if this is the kind of game that people can make a sort of a full-time game, make it a hobby. So, folks, let's start with some introductions. We'll just go we'll go clockwise. We'll start with you, BeardofOz. Please tell me who you are, what you do, and as a little bonus, what kind of games did you come from before you started with Star Citizen?
Hey there, citizens. BeardofOz. Bearded gentleman from Down Under, if you couldn't get that from the name already. Started playing Star Citizen and making videos about it in February of 2022, so super fresh baby faced here. Before that, streaming primarily Wild West roleplay, so Red Dead Redemption roleplay, and just random smatterings of games. Yeah.
Cool. All right, DigitalMaster, how about you?
Yes. Hello, everyone. DigitalMaster. I've actually been playing Star Citizen since 2016, but as far as content creation, that is really last year. Started taking it serious at that point, and love the game. It's actually my favorite game of all time, even before it's a final game. So
when you were doing when you were playing the game but weren't doing content creation, how often would you say you were keeping up with it?
every day. Every day,
Okay.
I would digest all the information shared on the website anywhere I can get it. Yeah.
So
Very
basically,
upfront and center.
you realized you needed to output all of that, all that intake
Yeah,
from every day into somewhere. Cool,
exactly.
man. Glad to have you
Had to
here.
put it somewhere. Thank you.
Yeah, certified Gumbo. We are actually a conglomerate. We cover mainly entertainment and just started branching out into video games this past year. I am the Star Citizen content creator for Certified Gumbo.
Okay.
I will my main content is pretty much based around the development of the game because I like to create speculative content and talk about things that I would like to see in the game and just, start a dialogue or a conversation, fun, nothing too serious. Like it's just kind of sort of open-ended conversational pieces about certain things that I'm interested in with the game and the game's development. So that's what I cover.
Not trying to get in any keyboard battles.
Yeah. Not trying to get no
Okay.
keyword battles or anything like that.
So how many people are involved in your group? If you don't mind me asking.
It's four of us. So our main show we do bi-weekly. It's called The Cookout, and that is where we talk about things from TV and like TV shows and movies and things of that nature that we watch because we are fans of just Marvel, DC. We're watching The Last of Us. Like we're doing a whole lot
That's
of
good stuff.
Content. So like we were doing episodic stuff, like we covered The Mandalorian pretty extensively, like each episode, but that was during the pandemic. Now we're back to work and it's kind of hard to do that type of content on a weekly basis. So we've kind of scaled down a bit just to accommodate for our ever-changing busy work schedules.
Okay. So you guys are kind of overall sci-fi gaming culture kind of channel.
Yes. Yeah,
Cool.
we say that we are nerd-centric content.
Cool.
creators.
Well, thank you for joining us for the Star Citizen side of things.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And VoidyVids, how about yourself?
Well, I think about exactly a year ago, I started covering Star Citizen and just doing sort of, it kind of started off with a lot of guide type content and sort of, general gameplay type of stuff, but I slowly kind of tried to gear it towards something a little bit more entertainment or humor focused. In terms of like games that I sort of came from, I mean, gaming in general has been a huge part of my life, sort of, like since I was a kid. I remember sort of playing, being super excited to play games like Half-Life back in the day. I was overly invested in World of Warcraft, Total War games, Diablo, StarCraft, like you name it, I've probably played it.
Okay.
Recently, a lot of Valheim, that type of stuff. This is nothing that I already covered. This is just sort of personal preference of games type of stuff. But Star Citizen itself, I jumped into that, I think, 2014, 2015. I've been super sort of hyped about the project for a very long time. And you kind of, it ebbs and flows, right? You'll be super into it, like a new patch will drop and you will play the crap out of it kind of a thing. And then, it'll kind of maybe get a little bit stale and then you'll pull back a little bit and wait for some new tech update or new content to jump into the game.
Yeah.
And then when that happens, it's like super hype and super, it always managed to hook me back and sort of keep me going. And it really is like a one of a kind, insane experience, So in terms of, then started the whole content thing and that's kind of where I am now.
Well, and again, thank you all four of you for joining me today. I think Voidy actually just gave us a really good spot to jump in on the conversation from, and that is that when you get bored of Star Citizen, almost always there's something around the corner to kind of draw you back in, at least if you're excited to see how the game is developing. So that just on its own is, I think, something that a lot of people miss when they say, why are people still playing this? Why are people still putting into this 10 years later? It's because it's getting constant updates. Have any of you been involved in another game that is able to do that or keep up that kind of frequency of updates? Feel free to throw it out. Nobody first.
Not that I would say no for me specifically for the games that I have been into, like Star Wars, The Old Republic, EVE Online. I've played quite a lot of games, just like VoidyVids was saying. You name it, I've probably played it. But as far as the frequency of updates and how often I'm excited to jump in and just get engaged with the game, I can't think of any other game that has done that for me personally.
Does anybody else? Are you guys following any other games that maybe are in early access and getting updates like this?
I think maybe
No.
Valheim comes to mind.
Valheim, yeah, Valheim is one that I've heard has actually also had a little bit of trouble with their update. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I thought I heard something about their Mistlands update being later than they had expected.
Yeah, those guys are seriously taking their time, and it's a very small sort of development studio. I think it's like 5 or 6 guys at the moment, and they made like a smash hit that people just fell in love with. And I think timing also was on their side, right? They think it came out around about sort of pandemic times, and a large portion of the earth was just like, cool, let's sit at home and play Valheim all day, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that game was a splash. Would you say the communication from that studio is kind of like, obviously the size difference between CIG and that studio is something to take into account, but would you say that they're pretty good with communication as well?
My understanding of it at the moment, I don't follow it too strictly, but they'll release like a blog post every now and then, and they'll just be like, well, this is what's coming, and then it's like radio silence for months and months and months. Even though, maybe they would have communicated like, oh, I think they did actually have a roadmap at one stage. And they said, cool, this is like coming down the track for the next year. And like they missed all of those sort of, targets, kind of a thing. And Mistlands came out recently, I think in the last couple of months. And that kind of reinvigorated a lot of people to jump back into that game and just, hit it hard again kind of a thing. But I actually did read up on that latest blog post where they kind of said like, oh, we're gonna start talking about Ashlands and we're gonna start talking about like the be more transparent or more obvious with what we're actually developing, and because what they're trying to keep things pretty behind closed doors and not spoil anything. That was a big sort of component of that.
Okay.
But now they're being like super transparent. They're like, cool, here's like concept art. This is what we're thinking. We want to be super open now. So maybe that's a sort of a trend now, like that they see companies like CIG doing this kind of thing, and they want to, capitalize on that transparent, community-driven sort of development cycle. I don't know.
Right. What would you guys, just kind of jumping into more of that kind of conversation, would you all say that the way that they communicate, the way that they release with Star Citizen is reasonable? Obviously, it's easy to find burnout and it's easy to get frustrated with the way that things work, but like you're talking about experience you've had from Valheim, and many of us have also followed other projects. Would you say the way that it goes with Star Citizen is something that particularly irks you, or are you feeling okay about it?
I would say that their communication is like far and beyond what the average game developer would ever offer.
Yeah.
I mean, even even if it were like at a 1.0 like release full feature ready, most content updates don't look anything like what they do. I mean, you got 2 weekly shows, and I know they used to have more than that. You got roadmap updates that aren't just like bullet point updates, which is typically what game developers will do. Like an update, for instance, for on average is going to be like, okay, here are the things that we're adding, a brief description, and then we fixed like 4 bugs and a couple crashes, and that's it. It's like a paragraph, and they are like in the weeds of it. And I know that doesn't appeal to everybody, but like I'm a process oriented person, so I like to see the process of things, and so for me, like, this is infinitely fascinating.
Yeah, I think CIG, they almost give too much information, I think, because it's like it's in many different formats as well. So you get the patch updates, you get the weekly content that is really a lot of information because you're getting it weekly. Pretty much every day you're getting some sort of information, some sort of content that you can digest. And I think, you know, I think partly it's almost to a fault sometimes because I think they sort of shoot themselves in the foot sometimes with some of the information that they give out. But at the same time, I'm here for it because, again, I love this game. And I think the more you're into it, the more you are into, like Certified Gumbo said, into just taking in all that information. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. But not everyone is going to see everything because it's so much information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a little overwhelming. I mean, we are every day about it. I think most players that are gonna follow this game though are gonna be, every maybe once a week, once a month, something like that. And sometimes it seems like it could be hard for those people to understand fully where things are going. I'm kind of actually jumping ahead here with the topics that we wanted to get through, but do you feel like when it comes to the bigger beats of like what's going on, so we know, for instance, multi-crew is going to be a big thing. You're going to want to have crew. Physicalized cargo is going to require you to transfer things from one ship to another if you want to trade ships up. Physical damage is going to make your ships act weird. We've got Death of a Spaceman coming in. Just like all of these different things that are really big parts of the game that you don't get to see too much now. Do you feel like casual players are informed enough that that's kind of the way it's going? Or do you think a lot of people are going to get caught off guard?
Yeah,
It feels like, oh, sorry.
No,
go
you
ahead,
go ahead.
because I've
You go
already spoke.
Just as someone, because I think I might be the freshest to Star Citizen in general out of
Mhm.
everybody here. So as someone who is notoriously, I'll play a game for 2 weeks and I'll jump to the next one, 2 weeks, jump to the next one. And so this is the longest time I've spent with a game or a franchise or anything for that matter. And there are still things that I see in your videos, Tomato, that you'll say a catchphrase, and I know that there's 10,000 people going, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I don't know what any of that is, and I need to go
Mhm.
deep dive for 4 hours just to understand a speck of it. But as someone who's from that casual gamer to really getting into it, it glosses over for me. There's a lot of things that you'll say death of a spaceman, all of this stuff, and until it's something that I can hold and spend time with, it doesn't exist. And it's cool to be excited about it, but it's so far away from. I'll hear people going, "It's been 6 years since this thing, or 3 years for this thing," and so I just kind of go, until I can touch it, it doesn't exist. But it could be cool. Like, I'm still going, how are they going to make toilets a thing? Like, who wants to spend 30 seconds going to the toilet? Like, how is this exciting? But I know when it's released, everyone's like, I'm going to the bathroom, see you in 5 minutes. So it's a lot of stuff that is cool.
Does that feeling
Sorry?
does that feeling worry you when you're following the game? Like, do you ever feel a little bit lost?
No, I'm still catching up on things that other people have known about for 3 years that I'm still trying to find or do or find a roundabout way. Like, I still haven't visited Benny Henge, but I know it's there. I'm like, I'll get to it, because there's still so much stuff to go find. And even when there's nothing and there's a drought, there's a list of like, oh, I can go check this out. I can go find the javelin for the first time. Like, I've known about it for a year, but I haven't gone to find it. So there's still something to go do. And that's kind of nice. Like, it's huge. So, like, kind of rolling back to what Wood was saying, Mistlands, that it's kind of, Mistlands is still, or like that game in general, is linear. It's an exploration game, but it's linear. This is what you do, and that's the straight line. Whereas Star Citizen, they've got so much of so little that you can go try everything and make your own kind of thing with it. And then, yeah, so the content creator's like, I'm going to go find this to do because it gives me something to make a video about or talk about. And you go discover things you would never go look for. And you're like, oh, there's turtles in ArcCorp? What? And so you spend 4 hours trying to find a turtle. You don't know why. Yeah.
And that's good.
So no, it doesn't.
You actually made a really good point at the end there. That's good for content creators. Do you guys ever feel like normal people have incentive to go do those extra things, find things like Benny Henge or search for the penguins?
If they're into it.
Yeah, I think that this is aiming to be like a sandbox sci-fi space adventure game where, like, it's more sandbox than sim. Like, right now, I hear a lot of people compare it to a sim, and I wouldn't classify this as a sim. Like, it's not hardcore sim enough for it to be a sim. It's more of a sandbox. Like, it has sim type elements, and it also has like FPS elements, and it has space dogfighting elements. Like, it's got elements of like almost any type of science fiction game that you could find, but it's not beholden to one. Like, it is a sandbox adventure. Like, at some point it's going to be a full on, like, all right, here's the basics, go do whatever you want to do. Like,
Yeah, it's hard to tell people, because I agree with you kind of when you want to say that it's a sim. It's missing a lot of the qualities that I think they'll add that'll make it feel more like a sim, but at the same time you can't just be like, oh, it's an MMO, because that sells it short for sure.
Absolutely. Like, I'll say I play DCS World. Like, you don't this is not compare. You can't compare this to DCS World. Like, you want a sim game? Like, go buy a module in DCS and come and talk to me about how this game is a sim. Like, it's not. It's not at all. Like, not even. I mean, I bought I have an F-18 and F-16. The F-18 comes with like an 800-page manual. That's not Star Citizen.
Yeah, I definitely think when it comes to flight sim that they're nowhere near. But in terms of space sim, I think you can look at it from a different angle, right? In terms of how much it replicates. I'm sorry, we have Call to Prayer coming through the window right here, so you'll hear that a little bit in the background. Sorry, everybody. It kind of aims to like let you just live life in space, right? So do you think that they go pretty far in that regard?
Yeah, so I think, like, overall, I think the overall experience will simulate what you want from a science fiction adventure for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be where some casual players get lost, because I think in the space sim genre, like, we have been spoiled by games like Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky, many others, where you have this freedom of exploration. And I personally don't think that Star Citizen is going to be that type of open exploration style game. Like I think that in the end, the majority of your gameplay sessions will be in your starting system, and maybe 1 to 2 jump points beyond that on like just an average gameplay session. Like if you log in, your gameplay is going to be basically localized to those
Yeah.
smaller regions. You're not going to go from like Terra to the edge of Vandal space in a single gameplay. That's not going to happen. Like they're going to make this feel large based on all of the requirements that you touched on earlier, like the multi-crew stuff, the resource management, like all the other things and considerations that you have to make before you do anything in Star Citizen is going to make a lot of people kind of I think it's going to keep you kind of local. Like reputation also, I think, will keep you local and localize your gameplay because it's
Yeah.
going to incentivize you to stay within Crusader. Like if you're doing security work, right, like, and you're based in Crusader, that reputation system is going to incentivize you to stay in Crusader and earn rep with Crusader security.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think people talk. Sorry, people talk a lot about how they have to quantum travel a lot of times when they're playing, and it takes a lot of time. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they're gonna have a lot of missions on a planet, so you don't need to be going back and forth in the future. But that's
Right,
part of that whole problem of like, this is a game aiming to be a lot, but a lot of it's still just missing, and so it's
Yeah.
hard to imagine it. It's hard to, like Beard of Oz was saying, it's hard to quantify it until you're touching it and it's actually there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm
Let's-
looking forward to the day. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I just a quick carry on for what you were saying. I'm looking forward to the day when it's kind of expanded enough where your friend jumps on and you're like, "Hey, come to Crusader, we're gonna do this," and they're gonna say, "No, I'm here," and it's too much work to come to see you, and I'm gonna love that feeling of going, "Oh man, I should have gone to Hurston," and just even though at the moment now it's a 5-minute jump.
Mhm.
But with all those things you were talking about, it being included in the things you want to do, whether they have dailies or whatever they kind of throw in there, 3 years, 10 years down the track,
Yeah.
whatever it is, just going, oh, damn it.
And it's not that you won't be able to do those things. It's just going to take a considerable amount of time and planning before you embark on that, on
Right.
like longer duration
Yeah.
type of things.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I want to get to, I want to jump, 4, like 5, 6 systems away. Like that might take you a couple of weekends of just pre-prep, and then, that third or fourth weekend, now you start your journey. Like it'll be an adventure in that type of
And you have to
regard.
have the tools
Road trip.
to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like the
you're gonna
right
have to-
ship to participate
Like-
in those longer range events.
Sometimes I like to go on to the star map and just look at some of the systems, and like I think like if you wanted to go from Stanton to Seoul, right? And if you wanted to stay within UEE space, I looked at like the size of all the systems in between Stanton and Seoul, and it's like I think it's like 350 AU of travel distance between Stanton and Seoul, and that's not
Yeah.
including jump points because we don't know how jump points are even going to work. Like I don't know the time requirements to travel through a jump point or whatever, but it's like people get fatigued traveling through Stanton, and it's 5 AU. Like imagine a
Right.
350 AU journey. Like that's crazy.
Yeah. There's definitely a strong point being made by them to try and make you really have to make a decision, is it worth your time to go and do that? And they're slowly putting that in. Like we saw that with 315, which I think probably that was before you got in Beard of Oz. Was before that we didn't have, heal your friend or drag someone. I guess you could drag bodies, but we didn't have heal your friend or respawn at a hospital, or we didn't even have lose your items when you die, right? You would just die and respawn with everything. So that was just one domino and like a row of dominoes that are going to keep falling, that kind of build in that investment you have to make to do these moves. Do you all feel like that is one of those things that's going to start catching people off guard and make people probably turn away from the game?
I hope it doesn't turn them away from the game, but I think you make a very good point about the information or new players being made aware of that. How easy is it to know that that's what the plan is for Star Citizen? I think that is definitely a challenge, and I think that's where we as content creators can step in and maybe help with that a little bit. But like for example, the death of a spaceman, like once they start to add even more layers into that, it's going to change the game, no further. So I really do think I don't think that a lot of new players will be prepared for it, but I'm hoping it's one of those things where, like in my opinion, with the what you mentioned, Space Tomato, when the healing came in 3.15, we didn't have that before, but it added to the game in some significant ways. But for example, when Pyro comes in, the distance traveled, as Certified Gumbo was talking about, like staying local. Do you stay local? Do you go to Pyro? But if you're going to go to Pyro, do you have the right ship to even do anything meaningful? Is little things like that. And I don't know that new players are going to be prepared for it, but I'm hoping that CIG does more in that space, as time goes on. But again, I think we as content creators can help there a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
How do you guys, anybody else have feelings on that?
I think what would help with that is we got to see what the Star Citizen universe looks like post server meshing, and like, because after server meshing, they should be able to focus on content density in certain areas. So like what would help significantly is if a new player goes, oh wow, this is way more involved than I want to. Like I may have wanted to go to Seoul, but I'm in Stanton. I'm going to reconsider that. There should still be enough content within Stanton to like satisfy you for like an hour of gameplay.
Absolutely.
Like, easy. Like, and I think that's, even if like, you don't want to fly. Like I want to do missions like within Oris, and I think you kind of see that or a glimpse of that with the new missions on the Siege
Or
Force and
missions.
platforms.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like those, because you don't have to actually fly to those locations. You can just take a shuttle over to that platform and do those missions. Like stuff like that would absolutely help with players who maybe some people just don't like. Some people will not like flying. Like point blank period. Like
Oh,
maybe,
yeah.
like so like having missions where I can stay in the city or use ground vehicles or travel on foot or shuttle or whatever, like that will help, I think, the new player experience later down the road.
You put a really good little statement out there about people not wanting to fly. I made a video about that a couple months ago, and I talked about that with somebody else pretty recently, but it's becoming, I think, more and more clear that like there's definitely going to be a class of, it was Medrunner. I just talked to Medrunner, the group. They do healing, and they were talking about how they had newcomers coming into their group who never wanted to fly a ship. They just wanted to go in and be an FPS medic. And you start to realize that there's going to be a lot of people who are not flying. And I think some people are actually hesitant to jump into the game because they think they do have to fly a spaceship. Do you guys feel like at this point you can play the game and just never fly, or is that something that is still somebody would still have to wait for?
Definitely still have to wait for it.
If you have a dedicated group of friends that you play with regularly, then absolutely, like that shouldn't be a problem. You'll fill your role and you'll do your thing. But if you're just jumping into the game, you're sort of fresh faced and want to just jump into this ludicrous thing, then no ways. Like you if you have the patience and you want to use the in-game sort of comm systems to try and just be a gunner or whatever, people do that all the time. When Xenothreat runs or certain events run, people will sit there for they're dedicated, right? They'll sit there for a while and they'll say, I'm I want to be a turret gunner, like who's got a hammerhead ready to go, kind of a thing, and they love that, and I think that's a huge positive thing, and I think CIG are very aware of this type of thing. They I look at it that everything you do in the game could satisfy a certain power fantasy, right? Like, do you want to be the ace pilot? Do you want to be like a janitor on a ship, kind of a thing, like the power fantasy? But they kind of want to be able to fill all those roles, and now they may not be orchestrated or dedicated class structures within the game, right? You don't like sign up and say, cool, I'm going to be an assault person, or I'm going to be a medic or whatever. But I think as time goes on, you'll see what you equip yourself with will dictate what you're capable of, right? And like, there's arbitrary things. You could point out 100 things, okay, 50 things from the progress tracker, and things like drain, charge, and what's it called? I can't remember the name of the thing, but it's like, that multi-tool that people are running around with and track treeing all the time. You go to Jumptown and you're track treeing maze for hours, that's going to run out of ammo, and you're going to have space on your character to like, rearm that and
It's going to need batteries.
Yeah. So they may not define classes and say, cool, you're a medic, or cool, you're an assault gunner, or whatever. But based on what you equip organically, you will fill certain roles depending on what you've got in at your disposal, right? And hopefully we'll see the day one day where it's like, oh, cool, you've gone off on an expedition, you're busy exploring, kind of a thing. You can't even sit in your chair because you're wearing like, too much kit, kind of a thing. And then that can impact your gameplay experience. What's going to happen? Maybe you get attacked or something like that, and you're just a pilot in a flight suit with a pistol. You're not ready to deal with a situation like that because you don't have your, A-grade military, armor on or whatever.
Right. Do you guys see any features coming up that you think will help with the player who doesn't want to be a pilot?
I hope so, but I don't know.
Taxi missions, maybe?
Passenger transport stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you can hire like because not everybody's going to want to interact with players all the time. So like having the ability to hire an NPC to take you from Crusader to Hurston would be fantastic. And the monthly report was from from November, December was definitely pointing to we're getting closer to that becoming a reality. I don't know if that's a this year thing, but it's definitely getting closer.
I think it could definitely be a this year thing, but yeah, there's still, we'll see what they say in January. I think January's monthly report's going to have some interesting tells.
Yeah, February 8th is like the tone setter for
big day. Yeah, big day for the game. How about resource management? You guys think that will help to fill out the gameplay on ships a little bit more?
Sure.
Yes, I am looking forward to resource management. That is one of my most anticipated features for the game in general. Like I would say resource management and like Quanta are my most anticipated. And like I think Bearded was talking about this earlier, but like as a new player coming in, like everybody was talking about Quanta, and I was like, what the heck is Quanta? Like, and I had to like just this past I think in November, December. No, I'm sorry. It was like August, September. I've been working out of town, like so I was away from home for 6 months and I couldn't play the game. And I was hoping that during that time 318 would have gone into Ivocati, like it said in the Chris's letter.
You're like, I'll be gone
for
for 6 months. No way will it still not be.
Man, I'm like, oh, this works out perfect. We're gonna be Ivocati. By the time I get home, it should be live. Boy, was I wrong. So, but
yeah,
it gave me time to like go back and look at older content, and I watched the 3 longer discussions from Tony Z about the Quanta system, and like I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like if they can do this, oh my god! Like
if it happens, yeah.
Talk about like repeatable gameplay, like just things just happen. Like that's
I'm very excited for it. I just really need to see some more clear sign of it than what we've seen so far. But definitely on the same path as you.
There is like 2 updates that I'm looking forward to the most this year. It is Tony Z and Quanta and where the heck all that stuff is, and Squadron 42. Like those are, I think in my like for me, those are my like I need to hear something about those before the year is out.
Turning towards something we've kind of been dancing around, especially with the resource management talk and kind of the can you play the game without flying talk, is single player versus multiplayer gameplay in Star Citizen. A lot of people will tell you that the best way to play this game is with other people, but there are plenty of people who want to play an MMO completely solo, not have to be involved with people, just go out and do their own thing. Do you feel like there is enough in the game for somebody to just hang out and play the game without getting involved in the community?
Sure. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think like I mainly play solo, but I have my brother and I also have the organization that I'm in that I will play, cooperatively with. And it does make it a better experience, but it depends on what you're doing. But as a solo player, as a single player, there's a ton to do in Star Citizen. It's just, there's always the cost of whatever you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to mine, or as a solo player, then you really have to be sort of calculated is about how you go about doing that, because you're probably the easiest to pirate, right? If you're playing with a group, you stand a better chance of survival and things like that. So it's always just about understanding what is there, and if that's the type of gameplay you want to do, understand the risk associated with that or what have you. And I think, but ultimately there's just about every game loop you can participate in as a solo player.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't say. I think
Sorry.
maybe refueling is like the one that you can't.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
But like you
I've done
probably,
that,
if you don't like people, don't put out services that are going to bring in people.
right.
Yeah, I would say like that's a interesting topic because there's two ways to look at it. Like, can you play this game like it's a single player title and have zero interaction with other players? Absolutely not. Like that's not going to happen. Can you play solo? Yes, but that you have to anticipate at some point you're going to interact with another player or there will be other players around because that's just the reality of what Star Citizen is. Like you're not going to be so isolated that you're not going to interact with play, at least not at this point. Like I mean, sure, maybe sometime later when we have more systems and larger places to explore, like there's all the possibility that you could be alone, like but I don't know. I think that from my experience playing many MMOs, like going all the way back to RuneScape to more modern titles, like anytime that MMOs try to minimize the multiplayer aspect of the MMO, it kind of tanks the entire gameplay experience. And like, should you be able to hop in the game and do some stuff just solo? Absolutely. And I think you will always be able to do that. But to go into it expecting zero player interaction, I think is a little I think that's a little unrealistic for what this game is.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, I muted myself somehow. I think a lot of people also think that when you say Star Citizen is a game is going to require you to play with other people, they think that means you're going to have to party up and talk with them and be in their ship and all that stuff. When in reality, what the game is going to require you to do is just, maybe you have to sell minerals to a certain player, or maybe a player has to come and pick you up because your ship blew up. Like, the idea of playing with players isn't necessarily the idea of partying up with players, and that can sometimes get lost on people.
Right.
I think it's also, if you look at sort of the trend or recent additions to the game, right? And we're in this constant balancing act of like comparing what the game is now versus what the game will be one day.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at like the recent changes to security post Cario, right? That is, the last sort of video I did was all about just trying to solo that event, right? And it is, I started my YouTube channel because I enjoyed soloing Jumptown so much. But trying to solo security post Cario, which is arguably, it's like their way of thinking, the new features that they're adding, this is kind of how this event plays out, infinitely more difficult than soloing something like Jumptown, which a majority of people will consider like, no, Jumptown's a PvP orchestrated event where you go in with a group of friends kind of a thing. But without any hyperbole, soloing Jumptown has been the most fun I've had in gaming, period. Like, it is extraordinarily fun when you figure out like the creative ways you can approach and interact with other people and screw them over and steal and infiltrate and stuff like that. It's immaculate gameplay.
Yeah,
Um,
I've done that too.
So it feels like it
But,
really comes together in those situations. Like, do you feel like you're playing a real game, or are you still, because the AI
100%.
can be a issue,
Yeah.
but
So
when you
it-
get into those situations,
Yeah. So SBK, as it stands now, if you start killing enough people, enough of the AI there, you take them out, and it initiates this event. It is incredibly difficult to solder that. At any moment, there's so many more openings and stuff like that, and it's a much more sort of harder thing to just even logistically get the maze or get the contraband from point A to point B to your ship, provided your ship is even still alive, kind of a thing. It is very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's a lot more geared towards group play, right? Have some buddies by your side to try and deal with these situations. And I think a lot of things in the game will always be like that to a degree. If you've got some friends or some assistants or a crew, a lot of stuff is just going to be easier. But then you're sharing profits, and nobody wants to do that.
yeah. All right, I want to expand on that question a little bit and talk about the general state of the game. You guys mostly are playing the game, it sounds like, every week. I know, Gumbo, you had a long break there, but like when you guys are home and you're comfortable, maybe you're not having a lot going on in life, are you playing this game like multiple times a week, and does it ever feel like it's starting to get old?
Play all the time. I'll be honest. Every single week, not every day, but every single week, I'm playing probably about 12 to 24 hours of this game. This is my primary game, and I play Apex Legends. I'm just into that game. It's hit or miss, but mostly I don't run into as many issues as is normally reported by the community. Like, I will get to 30K, of course. I'll hit those. I'll hit the random bugs in the game, but for the most part, I have a fairly smooth experience with the game, but I will hit some, that's why I say it's sort of hit or miss. But yeah, I really I play this game a lot.
And I know asking you guys is obviously a bit biased since you make content for it, but I do think, especially Beard, you put it very simply in the beginning, like you usually are switching from game to game. And what I really want to understand is like, because a lot of people ask if you can play this game, and you'll get answers like, yeah, there's 2 months of content. Oh, there's a couple weeks of content. Wow, you could just keep doing this for a year and you'll be fine. And from your perspective, Digital Master, it's something that you feel like you can just continuously play?
And the reason why I say that is because I actually have an interest in a lot of the game loops that are in the game. Now, if you're one who just wants to do ABC, then I think you can run out of content fairly quickly with the current state of the game. But as they continue to add more layers to it, I think that will help. But yeah, I should make that statement. I am just simply interested in a lot of the different game loops that are in Star Citizen.
That's fair.
So I think that gives me a certain special, I don't want to say special case, but it changes that a little bit, the perspective.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
From my perspective, it's a case of, it's kind of tricky now, especially with 3.18 around the corner, because I think that this is the patch that really does make your returning casual player, there's a lot more game there, right? The fact that we can like transfer cargo from other people's, piracy type thing, just from my perspective, the kind of gameplay that I enjoy, 3.18 makes the game something I will continually come back and play, because just because of Pez, you never know what to expect. So doing a simple, the NPC service beacon missions, when you go and you delete a little ship off, out of the universe, kind of thing. The guy's body is going to be there, sort of floating around, and you can kind of see, okay, cool. This is now a new way to kind of equip yourself with armor. If you want to spend your money, you cannot just do mission after mission and tractor those bodies in and loot those corpses, kind of a thing, and like maybe grab a piece of their wing, and then go get your multi-tool attachment and use that as a source of hull material to like patch up your ship, kind of a thing. Like all these little things that 3.18 introduces really, to me, makes this a game that you can return to quite often if you're into Star Citizen in the first place.
Mhm.
And I think for a lot of players, it's your first impression that you'll get that will determine if you're going to log in again the next day. And for some people, that experience could be mind-blowingly insane and awesome, and you will not be able to, you can't wait to log back in the next day. And for some people, they'll have too many errors, too many bugs, and they'll say, no, I'll come back in 6 months, kind of a thing.
And many of us bounce back and forth between those two.
Yeah,
I'm
I would say like when 318 goes live, the new players that come in and play Star Citizen for the very first time in 318 probably be mind blown by a lot of what you can do. Like persistence is like, although this is a very baseline level of what they want to do, like when you see how it works and you get to experience it, it is like, oh, this is for real. Like this is crazy. Like to come back and you know, do a dogfight over like, in NPC dogfight over like the moon of yellow, and then come back a day or two later, get another contract that's in the same area, and you can see the wreckage from the ships that you had a fight with previously on the ground. Is like, yo, that's crazy. Like, I mean, even the bodies persist. Like they'll
Yeah.
still be on the ground even if you loot them or not. Like if you're in the same server, that's the big thing. Like once they get the matchmaking stuff worked out, it's gonna be even better. But like, I mean, PES alone, then you got the cargo refactor stuff and soft def. Like there's a lot of cool stuff in 318, and it's still at the same time there's still quite a bit they've got to work out in it. It's not ready for live, like
No.
yet. It's nowhere. It's going to be a
It's
little
rough.
while
Yeah.
before.
No, I was
Sorry.
just going to say, you're absolutely right, though. Just something as simple as shooting a ship and seeing it, like blowing it up and then it not disappearing. It just stays there and you can like fly out and go inside. It is so cool. It's so simple, but it feels so cool. Beard, what were you
Yeah.
going to say?
I was going to say much the same as Gumbo and Voidy there. I only had the access to the PTU because I grabbed the sub and then I let it lapse because it had been a month, and I was like, I'm not going to do it again because I've kind of squeezed everything I want out of it. And ever since going back to 17.5, I don't jump in as often because in 318, even with having to copy your account every day and not persisting anything for yourself, there was still content because I'd go fly out in the cutter and I'd go find where people had accidents and I'd just loot their stuff, see what happened. You'd go past, like you said, the bounty missions that had failed, and there was always a new story, a new ship going, oh, I've never seen one of those in general, let alone destroyed. And you could just go find things in spots that you knew were kind of hot spots, and you'd go find content for yourself because there was something to explore or look at or loot or wait for someone else who's doing the same thing and go, aha, gotcha. So ever since kind of leaving 318, I've gone back less because I know everything that's there. I know where it is, and it's not exploration in that sense because you know it all. You know the track. Whereas in 318, you're like, what's new? What's there? Like the water bottle in the water, in the plants that you pop there. I'm like, I remember that. I'm like, oh, now I've started doing the same thing going, will it be there? Will it be there? And I miss that. So I think 318 is going to be
And
even just that.
and you can like just leave loose items around in your ship now too. Like, I mean, I was able to get like put water bottle, stock my whole A with water bottles in the refrigerator, and it just persists through gameplay sessions, like leaving the little the ready-made meals on the counter, and like they're there, like they persist, like as long as you don't have to claim your ship or your ship doesn't get blown up, it's going to be there. Like it's very cool. Like that is very cool. It's something that they've talked about, but seeing it in practice is like, all right, okay, this is really happening now. Like this is,
And it sounds simple when you just talk about it, but the fact is, like, when you apply it to a spaceship that can go through space and that your friends can hop on and take their own stuff, like it's the combination of the stuff that really makes it feel better than it is.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it lays. Oh, God.
Just to add one more thing. Like I hope that they get the physics stuff worked out for the crash ship, so they stop bouncing around on the
Oh,
ground
yeah.
and like actually like
Just
make
hit
an
the ground.
impact and
Yeah.
just stay there. Like, because then like you can actually come across real derelict wreckages, like, and it looks so cool because it's like if they can get to the point where you won't be able to tell whether or not this was placed by the devs or this was just happened because battle. Like, man, that's gonna be like incredible.
Yeah. Digital Master, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I think you touched on this, Space Tomato, in one of your videos too. But PES, even before we start to talk about like server meshing, like PES in 3.18, it opens up some of the gameplay features that we've been waiting for before we even get to server meshing. And I'm hoping that once we get that roadmap update, that we start to see some of those things actually on the map for this year. Of course, we won't get into dates and stuff like that, but like what we're all talking about here with the Rex, from other players, I've seen that too. BeardofOz, where I went to a mission and I seen evidence of other players who absolutely failed at that mission, and it's pretty cool to see that. I think that's just another added wrinkle, like you were talking about, that just adds another layer to the game experience. And it starts to make you think about what's actually possible now that they've always been talking about as being something that's going to be in Star Citizen. And I think we're going to see some things this year, but we'll wait to see what they mention and what they bring.
I did the bunker, the security certification mission where you got to go to Crusader to one of the bunkers and help reinforce one of the some of the AI. And like when I get there, there's a terrapin wreckage, and there's a Pisces, and then a medical Pisces. They are all like around the facility, and I land and I see the bodies of all 3 different players on the ground in the bunker. Like, and I was like, damn, they didn't make it. it's like wow. I felt accomplished, and it's like the AI were like still derpy and not responsive at all. But I mean, I guess they showed up and the server was still fresh, so like they
The
probably
tick rate
got
was up and down.
Yeah,
so they
those-
probably got just annihilated. And like,
I mean, it is good to see that the AI. I think a lot of people have heard, oh yeah, when the server is running well, the AI does good. And I've seen people say, oh yeah, I hear that all the time, but I never see proof of it. And I think finally, the PTU this time has shown, and PTU oftentimes will run better than live, but I think it has shown that the AI, even without their kind of combat improvements, are good enough to at least offer a challenging experience, maybe if not the most engaging, which is nice to see.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
the AI on the Orison platforms, for me, they have been the most responsive. Like the
Yes.
bunkers are still like, and
Yeah, hit or
then
miss.
the ones on the around like Ghost Hollow, like they're just you just okay.
I got
Like,
outflanked. Like wrapped around me. I was like,
yeah,
what?
like
Really?
they're actually
Huh.
very
Yeah.
tactical.
One of the
ones on
platform missions. Yeah,
on
just
the
wrapped.
platform, they can
Well, looking at the way that the game plays right now, and kind of wrapping things up here, I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think over the next year from just what you've seen, what you've followed on the progress tracker, maybe ISC, CitizenCon, that kind of stuff. How do you think that the everyday experience might change? And this is a big question, so feel free to just like attack it in one direction. But how do you think that the overall experience is going to change, say, a year from now? From 3.17, we don't have to talk about. You can use 3.18 as a little bit of extra because it's not out yet.
So
But
3.18.5 in a year's time.
oh yeah, of course.
Oh man, that's funny.
But yeah, how do you? I honestly, yeah. Let's start with you, Digital Master. What do you think is going to be the way to play in a year?
Oh, you said, what do I think is going to be the way to play?
Yeah, take a couple features that you think are coming and tell me how you think they'll mix up the everyday experience.
So I do think they're going to improve or add on to bounty hunting, right? And I think we'll start to see some signs of the tracking, maybe. And I think that you have a lot of people who like that game loop, and myself included. And so to add that layer, because right now I think it's very unfair that you can track automatically the criminal, right?
Yeah.
Without having to put any work into that. But if they can start to flesh that out, I think that gameplay loop would probably move in further, if it's not already in the meta, move further into that, because it'll be so much more engaging and so much more challenging for both the criminal and the bounty hunters. That's just one thing. But one of my hopes is that they start to do something with exploration and the economy. I know we were talking about Quanta. So I'm very eager to hear about Quanta because I know that's going to tie directly into the economy. And if they can start to add layers to the economy, that alone I think would do a lot. And I think that can bring new players in, or bring even people who's been sitting on the sidelines in a little bit, because it will add things like the ability to start to bring in more exploration, more player interaction when it comes to trading different items that you can already send Alpha UEC, but like different items in trade, like things that you, for example, going out to hull scrape. Right now, only thing you really do with that is sell it, or apply some RMC to your ship, just for the aesthetic of it, because it's not really repairing the ship, right? But imagine where you can take the time to just stockpile stuff. Of course, we're probably going to need those hangers too, which is another thing I'm hoping for. But imagine being able to stockpile that and then be able to just maybe sell it to different players who need it at different prices, what have you. Just adding that layer of economy where you leave it up to the players to sort of figure things out and bring that emergent type of gameplay into Star Citizen. I'm really eager and hopeful for that, because there's little things like that add, I'll use the word gameplay, but it just adds more substance to the game. And I think it would bring a lot more players together, interacting in other ways other than just combat.
Yeah, the quantum system would definitely help with cargo hauling too, which is just people are dying for some better pricing around that stuff. Agreed. Beard of Oz, what about you from what you've seen? And I'm particularly interested because you're just like a year of following. I'm sure this is all very fast at this point.
Let me preface this. Let me preface this with every online MMO game I play, or anything that kind of falls into a category, same Star Citizen, I don't play with people. I don't get involved in activities. I avoid anything that's PvP related because I don't want it ruining my game experience, because you got to plan, you lose more often than not than you win, and it kind of ruins it. So I've always avoided that. And I've avoided that in Star Citizen especially. I think I've completed or attempted 3 PvP bounty missions in the entire year I've played. The way that it currently is, and I'm going to say this in a very pessimistic way, I don't think we're going to get as much as we're all hoping, just purely based on the year of what I've seen, what it was promised. And I'm just kind of running on that scale as opposed to, the 8 years beforehand. We're going to get a lot less than we're hoping for. So I don't think Quanta, or I don't think there's going to be much of a restructure of the economy at all. I think they're going to be working on the things that are going, this is the mechanical core. But with what's been added in 3.18, there's going to be a lot more people that are like myself or in that vein that are going to dabble in PvP, because there's now an incentive. There's less places to get rid of that. And the alternative, the punishment, is fun. Going to prison with the expansion of the things they've added is fun. If you don't want to do that, you log off for 6 hours, go mow the lawn, make dinner, come back.
Grass.
But there's now a reason to go, this guy, it's going to be at the point as well, like not everyone has a vulture, because it's not the PTU. He's in a vulture. He's just sitting there. When not in a commed area, I can take him and take that stuff, or, just shooting a back door and then getting like a small crime stat. And then, the 2 crime stat, you can still go pay stuff off. So people like, I can get away with some stuff. I can knee a guard in the groin and not go to prison. And so people are going to start dabbling in that and going, there's not a lot of punishment all over, because punishment's always been a bit blasé, but now it's kind of fun because you're like, whatever. So I think I'm going to dabble in it, because I'm just like, I'm going to get some cargo for free. I'm going to make some money and it's going to be easy. So I think a lot more people are going to be dabbling in it because it's fun, but it has a payoff, because it takes a certain kind of person who likes PvP for the sake of PvP. And like your Mongrel Squad, they love that. They don't care about the money. They're like, I made 17,000 credits because there were 6 dudes, but they enjoy the activity. But people that are like, I need an incentive. And if you can get the right ship, or even with a second person, I think more people are going to dabble in it. And I'm hoping that kind of sustains us through the year, depending on when 3.18 hits live. But that's kind of where I think it's going to go. And I'm actually kind of keen for it.
As somebody who has always avoided PvP and sounds like you were maybe not against it, but definitely adverse to it. How do you feel about the idea of people who are out there just kind of getting attacked and getting their stuff stolen? That rubs people a lot of people the wrong way. They don't think that should be allowed or able to be done. But from your perspective, what do you think?
I played Elite Dangerous in an offline server. I didn't play around other people, and it became very stale very quickly because there was no risk, because you knew exactly how the AI operated. And yeah, I've heard the argument of people want private servers, and as someone who enjoyed that private server, it makes the game very boring. And so I'm glad they haven't put that in, and I don't think they will, because they've seen the way that a game deteriorates. Because you'll always have griefers and people that like violence for violence sake, but there's going to be a lot of people, once it becomes more beneficial, that will start banding together. So there's always going to be someone who doesn't like, because they're like, I just want my game experience. That's fair enough. You can't change a lot of that. But yeah, I think so long as people understand that, that was the thing. Like, people are always complaining about, I lost my whole ship full of Laranite. It's like VoidyVids said, it's imaginary space money. Like, it doesn't do anything. You can go get more of it. It's really, really easy to make money in the game. So in general, I think the vast majority of people will just go, I'm angry for 5 minutes in chat, and then they'll move on. But there's going to be 1% that like, you've ruined my gaming experience. I mean, there's other games that are just single player. You're not being forced to play this game. So, and
Okay.
in 2 years' time, maybe you'll be a janitor. You can just be on a station and pick up water bottles.
A PvP
know.
janitor.
A people.
Voidy, how about you?
Maybe.
What do you think? How do you think things might change a bit in the year to mix up how we're playing the game?
I am disgustingly optimistic when it comes to this game, even though we've been burned so many times.
That
in the
burns
past
us, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, what I think is we'll probably, I think we'll be in a 3.18 phase for a very long time. I think they will focus more on stabilizing this new beast that Pez has sort of introduced. They'll refine it and find their upper limits to what's realistically possible before, all the server meshing and that kind of, or maybe it'll be sort of very intermingled with that. Who knows? We'll see. And I mean, you can even see, like, I think it was the last Star Citizen Live. You had somebody like Benoit, and even they're sort of approaching this. I got the sense that they're approaching this very cautiously, and like they're trying to approach Pez and figure out, like, he used the phrase like, oh, we get this for free, because Pez wreckages stay behind, we could dynamically, spawn missions based on player actions because the stuff has stayed behind. Or now there's a salvage mission to go and help clean up or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're just as like inquisitive about what's possible now once they find these upper limits. So I think, over the next year, we're going to see a lot of sort of stabilization, or hopefully a lot of stabilization, and just find their upper limits and make things, give players a consistent experience, hopefully. What I hope this time next year, maybe we'll be flying around Pyro, doing, exploring crazy ruins. I cannot wait for Pyro. Like, honestly, it is that is going to be such a game changer. But yeah, I mean, I focus on the here and now. My gameplay is very, the content I create is very much focused on, like, what can I accomplish in the game now? What goal can I set for myself, and then smash my face against it over and over again until I either inevitably don't succeed or succeed. And then, but that's, I think that makes for good content. But yeah, I mean, I just hope for a lot more stabilization and a more refined experience, right? And if the game's growing every year, year on year, they're getting, their player analytics and stuff are going up, which is a great thing. But I don't think we're going to see, like, mainstream extraordinary numbers until there's that degree of permanence, right? Where anybody who spends a couple of hours a week in the game, they want to see those hours, whatever they've achieved will stay. And when that happens, I mean, maybe this is like too far in the future, this is beta, like, kind of talk. That's when you're going to see, like, a surge. And I think it'll end into, like, sort of the mainstream consciousness, and people treat this game like a game, and hopefully maybe the stigma of what Star Citizen is will kind of alleviate itself from that mainstream perspective. But I've got no idea if I answered your question.
No, you did. And I had one more follow-up question based on the things you were saying. You were talking about how they were going to stabilize 318, and how Benoit was talking about these kinds of things that are popping up, and how they're very experimental and inquisitive with the results they're getting. Because the back-end stuff they're doing, you guys all know, but for the benefit of the audience, the reason that so long some of these major glitches and things haven't been figured out is because these systems are so big and there's so much R&D involved in them that they don't really know exactly how they're going to integrate. So I think we'll start to see some interesting and significant fixes now that we're seeing those things in, but also Voidy, as you said, they're talking about integrating some of the stuff they didn't know they could for missions and things. Do you think that we could see that this year? Like they might jump on the ball quickly and take advantage of that?
I'm hoping for more beacon-orientated stuff. Player-created beacons. Maybe that'll be a possibility. I hope, because that is like, a lot of people come from the sci-fi stuff that like defined us or inspired us. The Star Wars stuff or the Star Trek type stuff.
Mhm.
I would love to see creative usage of beacon, player-created beacon type stuff. I dream of the day where you've got your data runner type ships and you've got like important information stored, but it's not just instead of cargo, it's data. It's legitimately
Yeah.
like I've got an outpost on this base and it's got a location associated with it. And whenever I want to return to that base that I've built or maintained or whatever, I could like essentially hack somebody else's ship and get that information and then quantum to that person's base. That kind of like player driven beacon type information when data becomes more than just like a concept but like a physical gameplay thing. Man, sign me up. I'm ready.
Yeah, that's. I was talking to somebody. I think it was last couple of months, and they were talking about how that's one of the most unique things about the game for them is that you can organically like. This is how we believe it's going to happen. This isn't confirmed, but this is what they seem to be pointing to. You'd be able to find a location or create a beacon or just understand that something is in a place and take that coordinate and actually package it up as if it's just like a cargo box, and you can trade it, you can send it. It has value. That is incredible to me in a game. I'm really interested in seeing how that pans out.
Yeah.
Save it on the tiger's claw. Make those things useful for other things.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
I didn't water
Gumbo,
bottle.
I am interested in hearing what you're thinking is going to change for us over the next year.
All right, y'all ready for this hopium copium overdose right now? Hashtag 2024 Road to Knicks, baby. Yeah.
He's got the book out. He's
There
got
we
the
go.
book with all the.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. There, I honestly think that's going to be a hashtag one day, but no. I think what we need to do is put a hashtag. Where's Tony Z? That's what we need to do. Everybody in Star Citizen
Free Tony.
community, hashtag Where's Tony Z until we hear from this man. But I think 318. Let's look at it in worst case scenario, and 318 is like the only patch we get this year.
Oof.
I think that 318 is a far better patch than 317.
Yeah.
Way more replay value in 318 than we got in 317. Like because of salvage, because of PES, because of soft death and cargo refactor, all that stuff. And then like they talk about hardening PES. I don't know what the heck that means, but I'm interested to see, what that looks like for this year. I think I don't know. I think that there's a possibility of us getting. I think the low hanging fruit are the personal hangers, what is it? Persistent hangers and persistent halves. I
Mhm.
think that's almost I don't want to say a surefire bet because I don't think anything is, but like
I think it is. I think it's pretty safe to say that persistent hangers are a surefire bet for this year.
because it's necessary for the cargo for the different size cargo containers and all that stuff. Like
Right.
it's part of PES or the cargo refactor. So I hope so. I hope we get that. I hope that's a 319 like main staple, and that's me setting the bar kind of low for 319 in my opinion. But like that would be a significantly game changing patch because like even if like let's say you're a solo player and you're salvaging in your vulture, like if you got a vulture and a C2 and you got a personal hanger, like you can just 12 SCU containers at a time, load up all that cargo into your personal hanger and then load it into your C2 when you have enough of it and then sell that. And you're you're making pretty good money, but it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Uh,
You could just salvage all week and then store it in your hangar until your friends are online on Saturday and they could help you all sell it all at once.
yeah, that would be. This is I think salvage is like the first profession, because we didn't really talk about that in our hour, but like salvage is the first profession I think that multi-crew gameplay actually has an advantage, like that the reclaimer is definitely the better option
Yeah.
than the vulture, and it's far more efficient. It's you can do a lot more in the same amount of time. Like, it is an actual legitimate I would say I would pick crewing in a reclaimer over doing solo vulture play from what I've experienced in PTU.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So that alone, like, I know a lot of people who have reclaimers within Armco. So like, anytime that I'm bored and want to just, I don't know what I want to do, if they're doing anything, I'm gonna hop in and join in on that. If they've got availability and stuff like that. So like, I don't know. I think, like I said earlier, the Squadron 42 news is probably the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, because I sincerely think that CitizenCon this year, they are going to give us a release window for Squadron 42. And if I can make a bold prediction, it's going to be fall winter 2024 release window. That would be the announcement.
I hope.
And I mean, but the thing is, those Squadron 42 features, Squadron first features that they've talked about and teased, and we saw like the EVA tier 2 and the mantling, I hope we can get that this year, because like, they're either going to do this one of two ways, right? Like, as teams finish and get feature complete on their work for Squadron, like if the active feature team is, like, let's say in the next month or so, feature complete for Squadron 42, they're either going to move the majority of that team over to the PU so they can start porting everything active feature related into the PU, or they're going to wait until the entire game is feature complete and then start, which that, won't happen probably until this time next year. Like, so
It's going to be a weird situation with Squadron, yeah.
It's going to, and hopefully, like, the 8th is, the 8th might be the most important date. February 8th might be the most important date we get this year. Like, as far as like seeing what the 319 card has. If there are any Squadron first features on the 319 card, I'm going to feel good about this year, because that means they will start to port some stuff over from Squadron 42 as it's ready, as they've stated, instead of waiting for the game to be finished and then they'll start transitioning teams over back into the PU. Like, I don't know, but hopefully we get some Squadron first stuff in 319.
I'm thinking if we see 319 in July or August, around that time period of release, I think we will see something from the team that's been working on their stuff since last year, but I couldn't know what. I mean, we know from the progress tracker, and this is why, like you said, February 8th is going to be important, because we know from the progress tracker, which hasn't quite been updated in a little while, that things like Mobiglass rework have been in a complete state, at least for the active feature team, for a couple of months. Things like vehicle tractor beams and zero-G push and pull, and the other things that we've seen that are Squadron first, like you said, or maybe not vehicle tractor beams, but the push and pull and the EVA stuff we know is pretty far along on that regard. So, February 8th.
That was on the 319 card last year before they hit it. I remember, because
we were time travelers.
Yeah, I saw it. I remember, like, EVA tier 2 319 for third quarter or whatever it was. But yeah.
All right. Well, I think it sounds like everybody's got their expectations tempered for this year. I'm a little more enthusiastic, but I've got, I'll put out plenty of videos and stuff that are talking about that. How are you all? I guess I want to finish off with this question, which is the whole point of this podcast, and hopefully something that we've answered for at least somebody in the audience. Do you feel like this game is main game ready for somebody who is not dying to be in space? Well, let's go clockwise. We'll start with the newbie of the group, Beard. Tell me what you think from this last year.
Someone's main game, if they're not absolutely in love with the idea of space or a content creator, no, it's the game they run on weekends with their mates. Their one mate who is obsessed, a content creator, they'll go do that because they know they can block out 12 hours because for them it's new, it's fresh, and then the main person kind of driving that group, whether it's 2, 3, 4. I think you would need to be obsessed in one way or another for this to be the main game. I mean, like I said, it's 17.5. It's currently not my main game.
Mhm.
I'm playing crappy little games from Ubisoft at the moment just to fill the void. So even with all the things 318 has, and they're awesome, I don't think it's going to be the main game for a lot of people. It'll be the game that when they've got a lot of time and their friends are on, or they've thought of something they want to do, then, but otherwise I think it'll be maybe 50% of their kind of game repertoire in general.
Okay. That's not bad. Digital Master, what do you think?
Yeah, for the demographic you mentioned, I would agree with Beard of Oz. I think if you're not already interested in space, space sandbox games, then you probably won't consider this your main game. I think that answer changes if depending on who you are. If you are someone who is, into RPGs or MMOs, but even let me take that back, because if you're in MMOs, there's definitely not enough yet in Star Citizen to satiate that, desire of yours. But I think I made a video similar to something like that talked about it briefly, but it depends on what you can tolerate as a gamer. If you're interested in a game that's sort of pushing a lot of boundaries, you can probably only find that in Star Citizen. You're really into space, or you're really into just some of the game loops that are available right now. I think it can be, because it's mine. So I'm coming from that perspective. It's mine, but again, I'm really into space games, but I'm really into technology. I'm really into, a lot of what CIG or what Star Citizen is trying to be. So it really appeals to me. But for someone who is not, already like really into it like that, the answer is a very definitive no, because it's just not enough to keep that person engaged long term.
Let's say
Not
this.
to be considered a main game.
How about somebody who was playing Elite Dangerous?
I think so. I mean, you look at other content creators like Citizen Kate, for example. I know she's one who's come over from Elite Dangerous, and she swears by Star Citizen. So.
Black Maze is another one.
Black Maze, yeah. So I think there is enough, because you see a lot of, I guess everybody calls them Elite Dangerous refugees.
Yeah.
So I think so, because again, I think Star Citizen, even in its current state, it does scratch a lot of those itches, even if it's not complete yet. It's so immersive that it gives you something that you cannot get anywhere else, even in its current state. So, just imagine when it does reach a state where it's near feature complete. But
that's all we do is imagine that.
I know.
It's a part of the game. But yeah, I agree with you there. Gumbo, same question for you.
So yeah, speaking from my own personal reasons of hopping into this, I've put in a considerable amount of hours in gaming in general. I've played everything from Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis to Call of Duty. Like anything. I've pretty much played almost every type of game that there is to play. And I put in a considerable amount of time in Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky prior to playing Star Citizen. And I'm also burned out from the XP grind that MMOs offer. Like, because what happens is you get to, like, game comes out, level 50 cap, you grind through level 50, and then you come back 6 months later and the level cap is now 60, and everything that you just spent 100 plus hours grinding to get is absolutely valueless. Like, I can't do that anymore. Like, I just don't have it. I don't have it. Like, it's anyway. So if you are someone like myself that's just looking for a different type of gaming experience, then I think Star Citizen will absolutely appeal to you. If you like space games and science fiction and like, this genre, then it might appeal to you. It's something definitely worth trying during like a free fly for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Just to see if it's if it interests you at all, if it can hold your attention. Uh, I think it's absolutely worth $45 in its current state. But your mileage may vary because the bugs. If you cannot stomach bugs in video games, you need to stay away from this.
Yeah.
Like as far as possible. Like put
Yeah.
as much put a restraining order on Star Citizen until this game is like
Keep it away.
just stay away from it. Like
Yeah.
because you're not going to enjoy the experience that you have. You might be able to see the potential of what it can be, but if you can't look past the bugs, then you're not going to have fun.
And if you force yourself to try, like a lot of people will know people who enjoy it and force themselves to play it because they want to see the light. But the fact of the matter is, it's not a game for everybody right now. And I think that definitely, like, people should, like you said, just turn away if it's not enjoyable. Don't be angry. You don't have to go and comment on YouTube or get angry at anybody else. Just give it some time. Take a break. It definitely helps.
You don't need to go rage on Reddit and Spectrum. Like, we've seen plenty of those posts.
Oh, the Reddit threads get so
It's just
wild.
There's
they get crazy.
nothing you can say now that it hasn't already been said on Reddit and Spectrum 50 million times. So, if it didn't appeal to you, just, hey, you know what? I tried it, didn't like it.
Yeah. And
It's a video game.
I also agree with you. The free fly events are super, super valuable. There again, don't put the money into it if you're not sure, if you think you might get frustrated. If you've heard things that make you uneasy, just don't put the money in. Just wait for a free fly event. They happen like 3-4 times every year. Get like a couple weeks to play the game and experience everything, and you're good. You're set. I think a lot of people miss that, and they spend money and they get a little excited. They spend a little more money and a year on, it hasn't made as much progress as you want.
All right.
And you take it to Reddit.
And be a responsible friend to your friends and know what type of gamer they are. Do not just try to get them to play the game because you want them to play the game with you. Like,
Exactly.
understand what their tolerance is for early access games, and if they're not that type of player, don't recommend it to them. Like, because they are not going to enjoy their time here. Like, they're just going to be playing because they know you want them to play, and like they're not going to enjoy their experience. Like,
Voidy, how about you to finish us off?
Yeah, I think I'd probably just end up echoing a lot of the sentiment sort of put forward here. But with the exception, it was interesting that I think Digital Master mentioned Citizen Kate. If guys are interested in sort of, because I think their org tends to create a lot of scenarios where they set up their own goals, or they'll have like a large group battle or something like that.
Yeah.
If that's your vibe, because that's like truly sandboxy type sort of behavior, right? Where there's no structure from CIG or the devs or whatever are dictating what you should or shouldn't do in the game or setting goals or anything like that. Then I suppose your average casual person who is into that type of gameplay, it could probably be their main game if they're immune to bugs and then the frustrations that follow the average typical Star Citizen experience. But it would be a resounding no from me as well. The average guy off the street, could it be their main game? Absolutely not. And I think the biggest reason for a lot of people I've spoken to, and especially friends of mine, it's that permanence factor. You want to grind for a ship, put in weeks or months of your life into grinding for a ship, and then it's in your hangar kind of a thing. These guys want to be guaranteed that ship's not going anywhere, because if that gets taken away from them in some form or fashion, they're not going to be happy. So
right,
it's until that permanence factor is there, I don't think it would be a main game for a lot of people.
That's a super. I didn't even think of, it's crazy. I didn't think about that, but like that's huge, and we know that that's going to be the case until the game goes quote unquote live.
And exactly, and that's Sorry.
No.
The anti-wipers.
But I see that as kind of like the floodgates, right? As soon as word starts spreading that what you do in the game it's yours forever kind of a thing,
Definitely.
those are the floodgates. That's when it's it's going to be a game changer.
I didn't even think about that.
Server meshing.
Yeah.
Server meshing better be up to scratch for that day.
Cause I'm thinking of, how the alpha we're playing, the buggy, crashy alpha we're playing is going to be relatively more stable and interesting in 2 years' time. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're gonna see a lot of new players coming in. We saw a ton of new players coming in the last year, and we'll see it increase. But what you're saying is like, okay, but how about when it actually becomes a game and people can save their content, and like the person who just does not care about anything but progressing is finally interested in the game, and that's such a larger market. That's a really good point.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see how the game plays by that point. It's going to be something completely different, I think.
I think so, yeah.
All right, boys. Well, I think we're about done here. That was a fantastic talk. I hope that we were able to help a couple of people just, make a good decision about whether or not to jump into Star Citizen right now. But I also really appreciate all of you giving your words of wisdom based on your time in the game. Now, before we stop, I want to go through all of y'all and let the kind people listening or watching this podcast know where they can find your content, and maybe a little plug about what kind of stuff you do. So we'll go backwards from what we just did and start with you, Voidy.
Oh, you can find me on YouTube. I've been producing really ridiculous city adventures in Star Citizen on that channel, and trying to make people laugh. I don't know if I'm succeeding or not, but it's
They're
it's
good.
growing, it's getting there. And come by and check out the videos. We'd
Also,
appreciate it.
thumbnails are great. Love the
Thanks.
thumbnails. Yeah. Gumbo, how about you?
Yeah, so you can, like I said at the top, you can find us at Certified Gumbo. We are a conglomerate and we cover more than Star Citizen. But if you want Star Citizen content, you will find that on YouTube. We have a playlist for Star Citizen on the channel. So definitely would appreciate anybody who wants to go watch those videos. I think they're conversational. I would love to get more engagement and comments in the comment section on a lot of those videos. Got a lot of content that I've written and plan to release at some point when it becomes relevant. And so yeah, just definitely check us out. Certified at all socials, Certified Gumbo, YouTube, and Twitch. So
Awesome. Thank you. Digital Master.
you.
Yes, sir. Primarily YouTube. I generate like sort of content that's aimed at new players, but also guides and gameplay primarily. And I'm pretty much still in what I consider to be the self-discovery mode. It's really nailing down the marriage between what I really thoroughly enjoy in Star Citizen and what's actually valuable to my audience. So YouTube primarily. I'm also on TikTok though. You can find me on Twitter, and the goal is to eventually get on Twitch. I mean, I have a Twitch account now that you can actually go to, but I don't stream as of yet. So maybe in the future. But yeah.
Cool. And Beard?
Citizens, my name's BeardofOz, spelt just like it is right there. I'm on Twitch, I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Twitter. And the one thing that I love to do is if there's a way to make easy money in the verse that doesn't use a glitch, I'll find it, I'll tell you, I'll share it so everyone can buy the biggest, most beautiful ships every time, easy and fast.
Not bad. I really resonated with that statement, Digital, that you had said about finding the content that works for the channel. And Beard, I see that you're taking a certain approach, because you said that you cover games pretty regularly. Is that an approach you take with every game you play, or is that something you chose for Star Citizen?
I only cover Star Citizen. I
okay.
dabbled in a couple of things during a very weird patch 4 months ago where everything was just a desert.
Mhm.
But no, I really picked the YouTube channel back up purely for Star Citizen, and it's pretty
Cool.
much a Star Citizen channel now.
Cool. Well, as always, it is a great time meeting some new folks. Thank you all. This is your first show on here. I'm sure I'll see you on the other podcast at some point. But I want to thank you for joining me today. Folks who are listening, like I just said, we got another podcast. It is more of a kind of one-on-one or maybe one-on-two sort of discussion that talks about various parts of Star Citizen and other games in the industry, usually sci-fi related. That's on Space Tomato 2 as well. And you can find it on all podcast platforms along with this one. They're all down below there, but there are other platforms you can use. I personally use Pocket Cast. So if you'd like to see or listen to those, make sure to check them out. The audio version is ad-free because, YouTube ads, they get you. But that's about it for today. So thank you, everybody, for coming again. To my guests, thank you for joining me. I hope you had a great chance to talk and got everything that you wanted to say out. And
Thanks for having me.
yeah, of course.
Thank you, Space.
Yes, thanks for having us. That was fantastic.
Thanks very much.
Awesome,
It was
guys.
epic.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I will catch you all next month in episode 8. Have a good one.